Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday afternoon in the Locher Room. I'm Alan Locher. Around the Sun is a new episodic audio drama currently streaming on the Broadway Podcast Network. Each self-contained episode of Around the Sun explores human connections made in mist with an existential New York flair. Whether consumed together or independently, the comedy, tragedy, and soul of Around the Sun embraces one character's assertion that we're never alone in New York, even if it feels like the opposite is often true. The series was produced in quarantine via remote technology. Around the Sun is a valentine to a city I love and the transcendent themes that unite us, says series creator Brad Forenza. It's also a celebration of possibility created amidst the pandemic's destruction. Joining me today to discuss the series are creator and one of the performers, Brad Forenza, and cast members, François Clemmons from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Maureen Van Zandt, who you will all recognize from The Sopranos. Please welcome to the Locher Room, François Clemmons, Maureen Van Zandt, and Brad Forenza. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for the invitation. It's nice to be here.
You're so welcome. Brad, I love Around the Sun that it's a love letter to New York City.
I'm honored that you listened from across the Hudson.
I did. I was actually out in the car, so it was a perfect driving listen. Tell me what New York City means to you, Brad.
Oh boy, what a bold lead question. What does New York City mean to you? Well, I'll dive into the cliches. It's the center of the universe. It's the pulse of the world. It's the melting pot. And in addition to the cliches, there's just a lot of personal history in New York. And in the context of pandemic, I think I speak for many when I say there's been hints of disconnection. I know I've spoken with Maureen and Francois about the desire for hugs and being with real people, engaging in real time. And New York City means that, people coming together, strangers coming together, and yet they're all part of a community. We're all part of something bigger. That's what New York means to me, and that's what's hopefully captured in this podcast.
Hugs was definitely something I missed.
Yeah.
Maureen, I heard you say, does somebody have something else to open? I'm hearing feedback.
I don't have any noise going on in my house, so I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like it might be Maureen's, but we'll go from here. Maureen, you've been in the city since 1970 what?
That's 72, I think, yeah.
So tell me your relationship with New York City.
New York City was the place where I always wanted to live when I was a young girl. I lived in New Jersey, very close to here, and my grandfather used to bring me in to see Broadway shows, and then I ended up, I was a dancer, so I ended up working a lot in New York and studying in New York. So I was always back and forth, but it was always my dream to live here. And I've been here since then. I lived in London for a very, very short time, but I'm back here. And New York it has changed. I think it's very challenging lately, particularly with the pandemic. It hasn't been that easy. It's sad to see things changing, things closing, businesses that, were there forever, not there anymore because they just can't afford it. So there's a lot that is, like I said, challenging to live here now. But I'm one of the people who's just stuck here. Pandemic started, didn't run away. I thought this was the best place to be. This is, like Brad said, it is kind of the center of the universe. And I'd feel safer here than going somewhere else.
I had run about 5 or 6 years before out back to New Jersey. Never thought I'd leave I grew up in New Jersey, but lived in New York for 15 years. Where in New Jersey, Maureen, are you from originally?
I was born in East Orange, but grew up mostly in the Newark, Belleville, Montclair area.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So not far. Half hour away. So I was always in and out of the city. And when I was a teenager, I was sneaking into New York. I was cutting school and going to the clubs in the Village and the Cafe Wa and all those places. And so New York is all. I've been in New York way more than I ever was in New Jersey, where I grew up.
Yeah, and where you grew up is very close to me. Francois, what year did you arrive in New York City?
Well, I arrived in 1960, August of 68.
Wow.
69, forgive me, 69. And I had lived for 2 years in Pittsburgh, and I was dying to live in New York City. I did a lot of visiting, back and forth. There were many reasons, as you say, to be at the center of the universe. I love New York. I lived there for 35 years up on the Upper West Side,
Wow.
and I knew how to get around. Since I've lived here in Vermont, about 2000, 1998, 1999, I've become more appreciative of the quieter side of life that allows me to write and to contemplate and to walk. I don't lock my doors to my house or my car. It's that thing that also draws me, but my heart still loves New York. I mean, where else can you see a Broadway show? Where else can you see the Metropolitan Opera or the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater there on 55th Street or something? I mean, all of that is what draws me back, and again, the Metropolitan Museum and the Metropolitan Opera. I love theater and I love the arts. I love the colorfulness of New York, all the brown people, all the black people that you do not have in Vermont. Trust me.
You get all the colors of the world in New York City.
Yes. And restaurants, places where you can go in and just meet friends. The real Starbucks, the little community restaurants, the bodegas. I don't think there's a bodega in all of Vermont. And you can always get chicken soup, whether you get Latin or Asian, Chinese like that, or Indian or black. I mean, just Jewish. There's always a delicatessen or someplace where you
Yeah,
can get
24 hours a day, you can get whatever you would like.
And there's not a single place in Vermont except in my kitchen where you can get chicken soup. I don't believe it. I always have to ask for it.
Francois mentioned Broadway. Does everybody remember their first Broadway show?
Yes, I saw Pearl Bailey doing Hello Dolly back in 1968 or 69. I came to New York on spring break, and one of my friends had a year or two ahead of me. She was essentially a chorister with a couple of lines and roles and all that, and she was so excited about Pearl Bailey. And so I went to Broadway and I saw, so to speak, I started at the top. She does the first act, the second act, and then she did a third act where she walked down. They had a part of the stage where you could walk down into the audience, and she did an entirely improvised third act. It was the best part of the show. In fact, in spite of the fact that she got a standing ovation, it was wonderful.
Maureen, do you remember yours?
Oh, yes. And you said you started at the top, Francois. I felt I did too. It was West Side Story in 57. So who
was in it? Do you remember?
Cheetah Rivera, Larry. The original. And it inspired me to be a dancer, inspired me to want to perform, inspired me to want to rumble with people. But
is that truly what led you to act?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Who took you? Was it family?
My grandfather.
Wow,
it was strange because my family was not a particularly artistic family, and my grandfather loved to go to New York. He would go to a Broadway show and then go to Lu Chow's restaurant on 14th Street for Chinese food, and it was like a little ritual thing that he did. And I was the only one that was interested in going with him. So even though he kind of he took.
Isn't it amazing that one thing could change the course of your life?
Absolutely. I mean, I had been in dance class before then, but just like most little girls are. But when I saw that and I saw Cheetah Rivera, and I thought, man, and I saw those guys dancing on stage, these, tough street guys dancing beautifully. I thought that's what I want. And then I saw Rudolph Nureyev right after that. And I thought that's it.
Yeah. But seeing a production like that live at a young age can be transformative. Have you seen the movie yet?
No. I don't think I want to. I am so in love with the
Original
film, and I guess eventually I will. But
Yeah. I hear good things. I haven't either, but I
so
hear good
I heard
things.
it's really beautifully done. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you did a wonderful job on it. But I'll see it eventually.
And Brad, for you?
Yeah, I'm so glad that Maureen led with her early formative memories of West Side Story, because I have a feeling later in the hour we might hear more stories of young Maureen and Broadway. But my first show, my mom, who's watching, hi mom,
Hi, Mom.
took me to see Cats. And
Oh.
through some connection, we got to sit in the very front row. And they were coming out of the sewers right in front of us. We got to go backstage. It was a really awesome experience, but it wasn't until 5 years later or so that I really got the Broadway bug. And loved the experience of being in a live theater. And while I didn't get to see Pearl Bailey in Hello Dolly or Cheetah Rivera in West Side Story, I feel like along the way I've gotten to see some really iconic performances and shows.
Same here. My first was a high school trip to New York for 42nd Street with
Oh yeah.
Leroy Reams and Lisa Brown were starring in
Nice.
42nd Street. So let's talk about Around the Sun, Brad. Where did the idea for the audio drama stem from?
Yeah, thank you, Alan. And thank you for referencing it as an audio drama. For your viewers who might not know, Around the Sun is scripted. So a lot of podcasts, including the one that we're privileged to be on today, yours, are interview oriented, whereas Around the Sun is scripted. So François Clemmons and Maureen Van Zandt and other amazing performers are interpreting roles for the audio drama medium. So what used to be called a radio play. And the idea...
What started out as a soap opera.
Yeah, and that's your background.
Yeah, I mean, it's really how soap opera started on the radio.
Yeah. So the idea comes from theater. A lot of these pieces were produced in the 10-minute play circuit as self-contained one acts. And then the pandemic gave me kind of license and empowerment to adapt them to this new medium, because I think everyone would agree the creative bug doesn't go away just because we all have to stay inside and be socially.
Oh no, not at all.
Not at all. Wait a minute. So you were planning to do these as a stage? I
had done them through the years. They had been done as 10-minute plays, one act plays. And when I say through the years, it's like it's close to 10 years that these pieces have been developed, and never really, I'm an independent artist. So I try and push the needle, and through the good graces of Maureen and Francois and others, sometimes the needle does get pushed. And that's what Around the Sun has allowed for, getting these pieces through these wonderful, iconic performers themselves out to a larger audience.
That's incredible. I missed that somehow. I did not realize they were done. That's really smart. When we all need escapism during the pandemic, and creativity. Maureen and Francois, who are creative people, they need an outlet. So to provide that.
Yeah.
Maureen, Francois, tell me how you got involved, and Maureen, I'll let you go first. Tell us about your episode, because each one is a self-contained.
About the episode, or how I got involved?
Both. Yeah, how you got involved with Brad, and which I know, but I love that story too.
Vincent Pastore, who's a friend of mine and friend of Brad's, and teacher and mentor of Brad's. He had an acting class at HB Studios, and he asked me to assist teaching it. So that's where I met Brad. And over time, we've worked together a lot. When the pandemic started, thank God for Zoom, we were able to resume the classes on Zoom. And that kind of has kept me alive for the last couple of years and we've also done some plays on Zoom. So it's been really a lifesaver. And that's really, you know, the relationship with Brad started out in person, but then it became a Zoom relationship. And he asked me to do this piece and Around the Sun. And I'm always thrilled to work with Brad. I think he's such a talented actor, aside from great writer and director and all of that. But he's just such a talented guy. And anytime Brad will ask me to do something, I will do it. And what I also loved is that Joanna Bonaro, who is in my theater company, Brad asked her to do the other role. So I thought this, you know, couldn't be better. And we just went in.
What's better to work with a friend?
Exactly. And it made it easier, too, because when you're doing something that's not in person, it's hard to make a connection sometimes if you're doing it with a total stranger. But I knew Joanna. We know how we work together. We had just done Streetcar Named Desire together. So we'd done, he'd done some scenes, and then we did other plays together as well. So it was very comfortable. And you know, working with Brad is comfortable and easy and a blast. And it was just nothing but fun. You know, just a fun afternoon.
And tell us a little about, you know, not to give too much away, about your particular episode.
I'm always scared to say too much. It's two women.
We can let Brad do it if you know.
Yeah, I think it's fair
if you feel safer.
Well,
Chatty mouth, I think. So, Brad.
I'll say this: the last time I got to work with Maureen before the pandemic, I remember her saying, and she might not remember this, but I remember her saying that she really liked, or she really would like to play an eccentric part, a quirky, colorful part, and I'm paraphrasing. So that kind of sets the framework for what Maureen's character is. I've previously described the character as a bit of a Don, but maybe not your typical Don. And she's kind of coercing her neighbor, as played by Joanna, to repay a favor that Joanna's character really wants to thank Maureen's character for. But hilarity ensues, and
She doesn't know what she's getting herself into.
yeah, and all in the context of a Subway Series baseball game.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
New York.
It's playing, yeah, totally Spirit of New York, playing in the background. And Francois, how did you meet Brad?
Well, I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure. We did an interview. I did an interview for Brad. We were in contact on Facebook.
Well, I reached out to Team Francois through IMDb Pro.
Okay.
And we didn't have a prior relationship, but I do think we might have known each other in a prior life.
I need Team Allen. I love that. Team Francois.
Someone, I can't remember who started that, but it caught on. And
It's
so they
fantastic.
over at my publisher, I think they started saying Team Clemmons or Team Francois or Team Diva Man, all those names down there that I use. And so he asked me to do that. And I always wanted to do more acting. But the curse of having, forgive me, a beautiful voice, that every time I look around, I was, being asked to sing a song here, sing a song there, do a scene of this, that. So it opened many doors, and I'm not complaining. But on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that's as close as I came to acting as a police officer. And I didn't like it. I had a lot of struggling with being a Black policeman, even though it was in the neighborhood. And I think of the incredible variety that being with Brad gave me a chance to think of myself as being in Manhattan, and then in Brooklyn, and then in Queens and Bronx, like that, and coming to Staten Island. I love those different flavors of New York City, and it reminded me in a certain way of the characters that I did play, how different Officer Clemmons was from Sporting Life when I did that part, and how different it is from being the conductor of the Harlem Spiritual Ensemble or being a professor. So I thought of all those different things, and here I was doing Around the Sun, where I got to go from one borough to the other. It somehow or another, it balanced out, and that's how I think of it as. I love New York. You gave me a chance to go back to my heart.
To revisit it. Brad, tell us about Francois' episode as well.
Francois plays a runner in the New York City Marathon.
Okay.
And it's a solo performance, whereas Maureen and Joanna are in a two-hander, and every other piece in Around the Sun is a two-hander. Francois stars alongside Francois, so he does sing. That's the backdrop for his episode.
I love it. You hear it in the background.
Yeah, and that provides the template for the runner who's literally running through the boroughs, but also metaphorically, he's running through different stages of his life. And there are flashbacks in Francois' episode to other episodes, including Maureen's, where you'll hear a clip of something that's relevant to the moment that the runner, as portrayed by Francois, is speaking of. So
it had such a wonderful challenge, but at the same time, it was a natural flow for me to go from one borough to the next borough. And I'm 76 years old, so I think of those different phases of life that I was going through in the role and also in my real life, some of the different considerations and how you get tired at the end when you finally are coming into Central Park and the crowd's making noise. I said, thank God, somebody, appreciated what I've been through, because I am tired.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of
26 miles. You would be very tired, Francois.
Very tired. But I just loved it. And then Brad and I were talking about singing, and naturally that almost always comes up. And what I want to sing, American Negro Spirituals. And he has a request, which I found just touching. It's such a sweet. You can tell them, Brad, what it meant to you. Michael Rowe, The Boat Ashore.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll start by saying Francois picked his own spirituals because, you're asking someone to give of themselves. So I wanted for Francois to be comfortable with the spirituals he chose, and he chose two beautiful ones. This Little Light of Mine, which everyone knows, and one that I had not previously heard before, which is Jacob's Ladder. And it's very beautiful. And right there, it's a person going through their life, or at least that's my interpretation.
No, yes, you're right.
Special to me as my new friend, Francois, and I hate to say old friend, but old friend Maureen knows is that I lost my dad this year. And my dad, thank you. Michael Rowe, The Boat Ashore is something he would sing here and there. I think he might have sung it in a school show years ago. He was, his memory was not the best at any stage of life, but he couldn't ever tell me how he encountered this song, Michael Rowe, The Boat Ashore. But at some point he performed it, and it fit the canon of Francois, and he was willing to sing it, even though he was exhausted from having performed the episode several times and then performed This Little Light of Mine and Jacob's Ladder several times. And I tend to think things come in threes. So Maureen and Joanna, we rehearsed and recorded their episode 3 times. Same for Francois in his role as the runner. And I just, even though I wanted Francois' spirituals to be personal to Francois, I needed a third spiritual. And at the last minute, I threw out This Little, not This Little Light. I threw out the idea of Michael Rowe, The Boat Ashore. And then a couple days later, my dad passed, and it became all the more resonant for me.
Boy, thank you for sharing that memory, and forgive me, Alan, for jumping in like this, but I'm so glad I could give that to you, because I feel such a tremendous spiritual bond to you, Brad, right from the beginning. And I wanted to work with you, and I told my literary agent, who is very much involved in these efforts that I do, I said, Elizabeth, I want to do this. I don't care what it pays or what it doesn't pay, because of the nature of working with Brad and the fact that I never sung Michael Rowe, Your Boat Ashore, never, until that moment.
Wow.
And
I felt a connection.
Did you record these on Zoom, Brad? So did you get to see him do it? Yeah.
Well, they're recorded on Zoom. I got to see Francois do it, but the listener, it's an audio medium.
Right. But I mean, for yourself, Right.
Oh,
I was
yes.
just talking for
I had the
yourself.
privilege of watching Francois and Maureen and Joanna and Vincent Pastore, who was referenced earlier. Wonderful, amazing people, new friends.
Well, Vincent Pastore is in your episode, so please,
Yes.
which also is a phenomenal, all three that I listened to
Thank
are
you.
fantastic. And I that was powerful.
Thank you.
And I have to say too that looking at them on screen, they seem rather simple. But as I listened, and also later as I participated in that 10th segment, I was really full. I had totally embraced everybody's episodes, and I felt that afterwards I need a rest because it's been far more intensive than I imagined.
Because you're really projecting emotion through just one, your avenue, which your voice. Arlene just said, I love the idea for young actors who get the skills of creating a character with their voices and the experiences of a scripted drama. And she would love to see this audio drama in more schools.
Oh,
thank you, Arlene.
yeah.
It'd be lovely.
And she said, sending big hugs to you, Brad. Your dad is surely smiling down with pride at your work.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry if I seem polished. I'm trying to not cry, but it's, a beautiful soul commented last night that maybe I had some gray hairs that I didn't used to have. It's been a year.
Losing a parent is never easy. Losing a parent
and yet,
is never
I
easy.
agree. And thank you all and Arlene for validating that. Without minimizing the loss, because it's heavy and it's been a year of loss for everyone. As an artist and a creator, it has helped me find renewed purpose in the art.
We're all going through something like that, with all due respect. This pandemic and losing people that you thought would live a lot longer at 69, 65, 71, and people are dying who are younger than I am and staying at home and not being able to fly out to funeral services, and that kind of stuff, feeling the danger has been, this is a very intense time when we are together. Yeah. And I don't think anybody would have predicted that Skype and Zoom would take such a place in our lives, but it certainly has for me. I've been doing Zoom sessions every single week.
I keep thinking back to the pandemic of 18. The one thing we really do have is this opportunity. Families back then, I couldn't even imagine the disconnect people faced when we didn't have the technology to at least, seeing somebody's face, a loved one, a friend, even a stranger, puts a smile on all of our faces, just gives us, a boost.
Connection.
Yeah. And we all have, well, not all, some of us have FaceTime on our telephones. And I took that for granted until this pandemic. And the next thing I know, several of my buddies were calling me through FaceTime. And I decided to respond. And I'm so happy that I did, because I had to make sure my hair was done, that I had the right clothes and stuff on. It did not matter one single time. But these mechanisms have given us a new quality of connection inside. Once we get a hold of it, we cherish it. We realize what we've got. We don't take it for granted. I don't.
Amen. Maureen, do you like having the opportunity to use your voice instead of your full body in a project? Does it present it a more challenging?
I would say Francois is probably more comfortable because you're used to using your voice. I started out as a dancer, so for me to use my voice, even speaking as an actor, was a very, very difficult thing, because to me, I always had to tell the story with my movement and my body. So to do this with Brad, I was so grateful that we did it on Zoom, because I thought I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this unless I can see the person. So I haven't been tested yet doing just a voice. I just did a voiceover for a film, an animated film, and it was very difficult for me. So really? I think I got to cheat a little bit with this, because I got to see Brad's face and Joanna's face, but it's a new experience, and I love new experiences. I just think at my age,
Well, they
always like to do something new, and it's fun, and I like learning. I don't care.
It's challenging.
Yeah. I mean, you can learn something from anybody and anywhere. And
are you able to talk about the animated film?
I don't think so. I have a very teeny part in it, so I don't think that I should.
We can look forward to it. Francois, you had said about Officer Clemmons, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It was difficult for you. Can you talk more about that?
Well, I think first of all, I felt I was in the wrong milieu. I was trained as an opera singer, so I expected to be on the so-called lyric stage, and I would be singing Puccini or Verdi or somebody, and doing concerts. I was very comfortable as a concert artist, and so when I got on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you had to focus your energy into the camera, and not this way. I tend to think this way for the stage. If there are 2,000, 2,500, my consciousness fills that space. And Fred helped me to understand one-on-one. And that was quite difficult because I was going through both of them at the same time. I won the Metropolitan Opera auditions in Pittsburgh, and Cleveland went on and what have you. And then I was going into the studio, and I was being told just to focus on this little spot here and just to go there. Plus the character of Officer Clemmons, I did not like him. He grabbed a hold of me and he never let go because the kids love the uniform. They love the badges. And, and I had other paraphernalia, none of it weaponry, no guns, no billy clubs or anything. But they liked all that stuff. They loved the boots. Oh, my Lord. Everywhere I went, I got a certain kind of superficial attention from the character. And over the years, I'm amazed. I was singing a concert in the Philippines, in Seoul, South Korea. And people come up to me and say, "Are you the same man who was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?" Well, I grew up with you. Everybody grew up with me. And that happened in Berlin. It happened in Paris. It happened in England. Everywhere I went to sing. The United States had a large army base somewhere, the people from that army base came to my concerts, and they didn't come because I was singing spirituals or I was singing an opera or oratory. They came because I had done Officer Clemmons and they had grown up. Even now, you can't see the other part of this, but I have a bunch of stuff over there that I need to answer. That is a great compliment. I'm not complaining, but I never, ever imagined that this character would hold on to me for so long. It's still with me.
How did that role come about?
It was Fred's idea. It absolutely was not mine. He felt that I could be a helper. That was the first time I heard that phrase used for young children who might get lost or get hurt or have something they want to express that was personal or special. Fred had a way of listening. And so he would say to me, you can listen too. You can be helpful. So many, Sidney Poitier just died. He meant a great deal to me. So many Black kids did not see their image on the screen. And I began to feel the weight of whatever I was doing. If I was on the screen, I had an obligation because there were Black and brown children who were getting a chance to benefit their self-image. And subsequently, as an adult, they're still coming. And sometimes they're 40, 50, and almost 60. And I think, oh, my God, no.
But it's a role that lasted for 25 years. Well, and now has living on for generations to come.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Who could have? You can't predict these things. I mean this in the best sense of the word, but it's like my destiny. I've had a calling. I picked up my bird and I put it on my shoulder and I just started walking. I kept going. I didn't turn back. And there were lots of rough passages, particularly trying to deal with being a homosexual, a gay man, and how I was going to express myself in a society that was constantly telling me there was something negative about this extremely sensitive part of who I am and what I am. it was like love. I feel so many different situations where I feel love. I love children. I love life. I love variety. And they were constantly saying, men don't do that. Men don't do this. Real men, be careful, that femininity.
Right.
But that is the part that's so creative. Ay, ay, ay. Put that away and I have nothing left. I can't dance like Maureen. I'm so jealous, Maureen.
That's like Maureen anymore either, but
do you still dance, Maureen? She says she can't dance like that either anymore. do you dance for yourself still, like for exercise? Yeah, is that?
I've continued to take ballet class pretty much every day of my life, except in the pandemic. That's been extremely difficult. And I've actually done that on Zoom, which is really not the experience, because that's a very shared experience. I'm used to the herd mentality. I can't do things on my own. I can't exercise on my own. I have to have that energy there. So that's been difficult, but I've been doing it. I try to do as much as I can. I miss it. I miss hearing the pianist in the room playing, and that it was always a meditation for me. After I stopped doing it professionally, I went there to have a moment of peace, meditation, escape from the world. And that's
when you say professionally, were you dancing ballet or were you doing another type of?
I was dancing ballet. I danced with American Ballet Theater. I danced with the Metropolitan Opera for a little bit, Francois.
Oh, wow.
A little bit, and companies in New Jersey. So I danced with a few different companies, and they were all lovely experiences, and it's a career that is not going to last for that long. So you have to really cherish it.
You have to be bionic if your dancing career can last for that long.
So a great thing happened. I ended up teaching acting to ballet dancers. I started that several years ago, and then of course that has gotten thwarted also because of the pandemic.
So did you go out seeking ballet dancers to teach acting too? Was that your idea?
No, this was actually through American Ballet Theater, their school. They asked me if I would come in and teach the kids, and it was great because they all thought, oh, I can't act, and I thought I'm the same as you. I was exactly like you. They're scared to say a word, and I said I was the same way. And I think
genius idea.
They accepted me because I had done what they currently do, and they knew that maybe they could act too. So it was great fun doing that, and I really, really hope I can get back and do it again.
It's what Francois just said about being a Black man on television. You were being, a ballet dancer who became an actress, and they hadn't seen somebody who did what they did.
Sometimes we don't value versatility, although we really need it in life. And we're going through a period, as you know, where we have people who are quitting jobs and starting their own businesses and all that. Yeah. So there's a new energy in life. So you're doing it by having more than one strength. And I feel like nothing has changed because I had to do, in fact, I wrote a memoir called Officer Clemmons, but then I did the ebook, the audio book, and I did some spontaneous singing and stuff. And I had a chance to act, the different parts, my great grandmother, my grandfather, my aunt, that sort of thing. I just loved it. I did whatever I wanted to do.
Exactly.
And I had a lot of fun doing it. It's not academic.
Most artists are versatile. I mean, so many artists that I know, they're actors, but they can paint, they can sing, they can write, and I think that's so important. I mean, I think it's so boring to just do one thing all the time. I mean, if you can do it all, do it all. Each one enhances the other.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dancing enhanced my acting. The acting helped the dancing. I wish I could sing that. I would love to have been able to do that.
Me too. I wish I had Francois' voice.
And I think also these different realms of storytelling give you different insights to whatever your primary medium is, if it's dance or if it's voice.
Well, the thing is, this pandemic has the silver lining, and a lot of people are beginning to talk about it, and that is more and more books are coming out. People are at home, and they're able to be quiet and to write. Yeah. So when I watch some of the television stations, it's one author after the other. And frankly, a lot of them are very interesting. There's no way I'm going to read all the ones that I find interesting, but people are turning out more and more wonderful, interesting books about our time. And then the other part of it, of course, is they're making movies. And that's why this experience with Brad was so important. I wanted to be a part of the contemporary flow, that there are so many new directors and women. I'm one of those who thinks we are really entering the dawn of femininity.
Yes.
And many, many, many different situations that I observe, because I've become more of an observer. I see the femininity, the warmth, the empathy in our society. 20 years ago, they wouldn't be talking about daycare centers in Congress and care, and then taking time off for to take care of the baby and those kinds of things. The world is changing, and so we might as well get in the running of the flow, because it's here. It's not going away.
No, the success of audio is incredible right now. The
Yes.
audio podcasts, audio dramas, all of
Everybody's got a podcast.
Exactly.
Except me.
They do. Hey, I started this because of the pandemic, just, on a whim. Brad, talk about your creativity. You write, you act. Where did it all begin for you?
Thank you for asking. I think it all begins with acting in school plays and stuff like that. Although I was a kid who often had a video camera and coerced my family into doing initially remakes, or I can't even call them remakes. Nobody saw what I filmed in my basement, but Alice in Wonderland, existing stuff. And then when I was in high school, I wrangled, it wasn't some of my friends, it was like 30 of my closest high school friends to do a remake of The Graduate. And of course, put myself in the Ben Braddock role.
Wow.
And then in college, I wasn't a film major, but I did start writing original things. I wrote an original musical 2 years in a row that the college, they continued that tradition after I left. And it sounds self-important as I say it aloud, but it's true. And doing those kinds of things, writing and producing, gave me different perspective as an actor. So I identify as an actor, writer first, and I don't hate producing.
You're good at it.
Thank you. Even if I found it as a means to an end.
Yes.
I like it.
There are lots of things in life we do out of necessity.
Yeah.
When I started the Harlem Spiritual Ensemble, I was not a conductor or an arranger. I did not study those things academically in undergraduate school or graduate school, but I did it out of necessity, because there I was, and they had soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and I had high soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, bass. And you got to give everybody something to do. So that's how I started arranging. I'd say, you sing this, you sing that, and you come in here and you come in there. It was so amazing. I did it because we had to have it. Yeah. And then they would say to me, well, you founded the group, you conduct. I never had a conducting lesson in my life, but I did it.
And your perspective broadens, and it's all art.
Yes.
Yeah. And Brad, you not only wrote Around the Sun, you acted in Around the Sun, and you produced it, being the creator of it. What was the most difficult part of, you had written it for another medium, now you were doing it for this. What was the most difficult part that you, now looking back on?
The most difficult part, I was very fortunate with the project. I mean, the fact that Maureen and Francois are here today speaks to the caliber of talent I was able to attract to the project. And I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that they said yes and that everyone said yes. I think the most difficult part, I want to do well by Francois, by Maureen, by everyone who's in this project. So the most difficult part is making it land and enter the world in a way that I feel does the project and these people justice. And thanks to our mutual friend, Al and Suzanne Curry, a co-producer, Brian Dashew, a co-producer. I was able to do that more successfully than I've ever done it before. But of course, having these great names attached to it doesn't hurt. And I do think the bones are good. I know the writing is good, and it has been tested. In the long run, these pieces were tested. But yeah, I always want to do well by actors and people who are lending their time and talent and good name to these projects. And I'll always want it to be more than it is, but I'm happy that Suzanne and others, you, helped me get this project into the world the way I felt it needed to enter the world.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I don't think you're going to have any trouble going to the next level for all, I'm not the cinema critic, but I have seen a lot of movies and stuff. I used to go almost every day when I lived in New York. I don't go up here because of the pandemic. But when I was in Manhattan, I went to see all kinds of movies. And I really feel that this is something people, if they don't have to go to the theater, they will listen at home to NPR or PBS or something, and they'll have a chance to.
Well, everybody loves New York City, no matter where you are in the world. So a love letter to New York is perfect, especially for those who really cannot travel right now because of this pandemic. It's a way to live vicariously through the characters you created.
And they're fun. I mean, some are dramatic, some are comedic, and they're self-contained, and they're 10-ish minutes long. So it's a nice respite while you're waiting online for coffee, or while you're waiting
or driving in the car.
Or driving in the car. Yeah. And they're all now available for streaming and listening wherever you listen to podcasts.
Correct.
For free.
Maureen, you we were talking about Francois and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You are a part of one of HBO's literal iconic series, The Sopranos. Your husband was cast, I believe, first.
Yes.
Right? Maureen Van Zandt. When were you cast? And can you talk about, him taking on that role? Did he realize, it's the same thing, like, this series will live on as one of the best series ever to be on television. And people around the world, are watching you in various languages, I'm sure.
And wasn't it Hillary Clinton that used The Sopranos in her some of her speech making, that she made reference to how they ended the next day? She mentioned who had gotten killed or who had not gotten killed, and
probably so. And in one of the episodes, I actually had a line that was referring to her.
Yes, she watched it. She said she watched it.
I actually have to admit, I watch television, Maureen, incessantly. I don't know what it was. I didn't watch it when it was first out. And I actually, my job that I was working at when the pandemic hit and laid off was a TV and movie tour company in New York City. And we have a Sopranos tour that we take people from New York City all around New Jersey, showing them all of the iconic locations. So, I don't know what took me so long, but I have never binged a series faster and never loved a series more. From beginning to end, the writing, all of your performances are just, it was really, I don't know why I waited, but I diverted it. Your performances, everybody in that series is top of their game. It just is a phenomenal show.
Well, I think what it started with was just amazing writing. And, when you're given that kind of material, you have good actors and you cast it. And I think it was cast so perfectly. I think you've got a winning formula there. I mean, I remember when Stephen first got the script and he's like, what the hell is it? guy with, he's a mafia guy, but there's rats in his pool, and he's upset about it, and he's going to a therapist. And David Chase had seen him giving an award to someone on a music show, and he thought, like, I like that guy's face, and I want him in my show. Now Francois is the opposite view. It's a musician, never acted, never thought about it, didn't want to do it. He was very much
not just a musician, quite a successful musician at that as well.
Yeah, a very successful.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, but you have to try it, try. He said, no, I'm an actor. I said, well, who cares? Just do it. And I helped him with his audition, and they actually wanted to cast him as Tony Soprano, and that's what the script was. I mean, that's what the sides were. And so he went in, he did the scene as Tony. They wanted to cast him. And then HBO was like, this guy never acted before. He's like, we're not giving the show. So they created this other role for him, Silvio Dante, which did not exist in the original script. And so that was the first season. And he just did. And I always knew he'd be good at it because he's a very expressive person. He's funny. And he's very, into all the gangster stuff. And I thought, this is such a perfect thing for you. Anyway, he got it. He did it. He had a wife in the first season that I think really was not visible very much. And she didn't have any dialogue. And second season, the end of the first season I think it was the premiere party, the casting director came up to me and said, would you be interested in auditioning to play his wife? And I was like, no way. I'm not, I just thought, I always kind of think that's weird to work. I think it could be very volatile. It could be, it could be great, or it could be really disastrous. And I thought, better stay away from this, have my own life. He has his life.
If you like your marriage, it might be a better choice not to do it.
Exactly. That's what I thought. And anyway, I thought, what the hell, I'll go and audition for it. I'm not going to get it anyway because I'm not the right type. I am Italian, but no one ever thinks I am, and no one ever would cast me as that. So I went in, there were 200 women that looking very Italian at waiting to audition. I was like, I'm not getting this. So I went in and I kind of had fun with it. And then they called me back, and it got down to 4 actresses. And again, I thought, I'm not getting this. So and they to audition in front of the entire crew cast. It was very intimidating. But again, it was one of those things where I didn't think it was a possibility. So I just kind of winged it and enjoyed it. And then they cast me, and I was shocked.
That's a wonderful story.
I think that's always the best way to approach it.
Yeah, the best way to do it.
Yeah, because I'm extremely neurotic. I mean, if I have an audition and it's a part I want, don't even talk to me or come near me that day. I will kill you. This was kind of like I had fun. I thought, I'm going to dress clothing and tease up my hair.
Well, it was the same way with Mr. Rogers'Neighborhood. Neighborhood. I never auditioned, and I don't mean that I diminish it, but I didn't necessarily want to do a children's television program.
Yeah.
I thought my life was going somewhere else. And I was completely wrong when he called me and told me, and I chatted with him, and he took me out to lunch and all those things. I was just being myself. I was having a ball.
Being wrong is sometimes good, isn't it?
What?
Being wrong is sometimes really good for you.
Not only being wrong, being unaware, being naive and dumb. Because had I had any idea what had been handed to me, I may have behaved so differently, but I didn't. And I'm very, very happy I didn't. He tells one story. I'll shut up, Maureen. He said that when he offered me the part, I said, Mr. Rogers, I will be very happy to be on your program as long as it doesn't interfere with my career. How dumb is that? So he said to me, that was the moment that I loved you, Francois, because not only did you tell me the truth, I knew that you were not going to kiss my ass. Those were his words, like everybody else was doing. And that's not who I am. He was my fan. Shit, I sang to him and he loved it. He went crazy. And so that was my basic feeling, that he loved music. So I connected with him spiritually and emotionally when I sang to him. So we were so bonded. And that's all I thought. Well, I'm just going to go sing him a couple of more songs.
Beautiful.
And here I am 40-something years later, 50 years.
Right. That's what's amazing. Maureen, when did you and Stephen realize the impact of The Sopranos?
Well, I think that I wasn't on the show yet when it became big. It became big during the first season. And I didn't realize it for myself. I mean, of course, he would get recognized because of the band. So it was always kind of hard to tell. But then people started saying Silvio. Instead of saying Stevie, it was the street with him. But hey, Silvio. And I'm like, okay, well, because when you're on TV, you are in people's houses. You're not doing that as a musician, really.
Right. Yeah.
And when I noticed it for myself is that I was walking down 57th Street once. This woman came up to me and she said, "That outfit you wore to the funeral was absolutely inappropriate." And I thought, what the hell is she? And I thought, oh, she's talking about this show.
They will stop anybody and tell you their feelings. I've been very lucky to see Bruce in the E Street Band a number of times, being a Jersey boy.
Of course.
But as his wife, what is it like watching him perform?
With the band, you mean?
Yeah.
It's just great. I mean, I love music. I've always been very tuned into music as a kid. I always, like I said, when I was a kid, I was sneaking off to go to the Village and go to the Cafe One and the Cafe A Go and all that stuff when I was like 13 years old. So I was a real rock and roll girl.
And from what I understand, met every single Beatle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty lucky.
Yeah, and I was a Beatle maniac. I mean, I was one of those 12-year-old girls screaming and crying in front of the TV. And Ed Sullivan and went to Shea Stadium and ran out in the field. I mean, I did every kind of crazy thing imaginable concerning the Beatles, and then to get to hang out with Paul McCartney and go to dinner with it's mind blowing to me.
But you must see all the girls do it to your husband, in the band.
Yeah,
what you were doing to the Beatles, they're all doing for Bruce.
I don't think anybody was acting as crazy as I was about the Beatles.
I have to share with you, I was the same crazy fanatic for Motown. Hearing you tell the story about the Beatles, I mean, I wrote them love letters. Yeah. I was so, I wrote love letters and told them how much I loved them. And believe it or not, a couple of them were so kind to me. And I was amazed.
Those were my other idols on the Motown, Smokey and the David Ruffin.
Yes. And Diana Ross and a lot of others. It got crazy with Leontine Price and with Maria Callas. I mean, I was once I got
remember your first concerts?
I did finally go hear Leontine in Cleveland. She was among some of the first ones. As a matter of fact, she said to me, "Hurry up and grow up so we can sing something together." I was still in undergraduate school when she was, a major personality. And I wrote this poem, and I said that first time I met Miss Price, I didn't know whether to give her my autograph or get hers because she knew about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And she articulated stuff. And there I was, this young guy, finally, at grad school in New York. And she knew what I had done. I was totally flattered.
It's crazy because that's how we became friendly with Chita Rivera, who was one of my idols, who inspired me to dance. We were at a party and she was there, and I was like, "Oh my God, Chita Rivera's here!" And then she comes over. She said, "I'm embarrassed, but I'm such a big fan of The Sopranos. I have to meet you guys." So,
yes,
that's got to be very. I don't even know the word. Just weird because you're in awe, and then somebody else is telling you they're in awe of you.
Yes,
the complete reversal.
Not the same exact way, but really, it was shocking to me. And but that's how it happens. I mean, artists appreciate each other and support each other, and I think that's beautiful.
And they live in the real world. So they know what's going on and they're a part of it. So they knew what you were doing, and just to see you, I think it's wonderful.
And it's nice to let people know that you appreciate their work.
Yeah.
And it is all hard work. I am sure the phrase overnight sensation has been attributed to you guys, but I know it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to that specific night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's why, artists should support each other. If somebody's doing something great, tell them, talk about it, because it's important to keep everybody, you know, it shouldn't be a selfish art. It should be something that encompasses, it's a family.
Completely. Well, before I let you go, Brad, what's next for you?
Oh boy. Well, the world was close to freeing up, but maybe we're going to be inside a little longer. So maybe there's season 2 batting around in my brain.
Oh, season 2. There you go.
It's also, I have to say, very, very fulfilling. So even if the world does free up and we get back to some sense of normalcy, this project is everything I hoped it would be and more. And that's thanks in part to the other 2 people who are with us, Alan.
Well, thank you.
By the way, I'm going to, Brad, I'm going to send you a link to a performance I did in Boston at the school, Berkeley Music School. You might be able to use it. So thank you, Alan, for letting me do that.
You're so welcome.
I look forward to it.
Brad, Francois, thank you so much for being here. Everybody stay safe. Everybody watching, please listen to Around the Sun. It's available on all streaming platforms today, right now. You can download. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Maureen. Thank you, Alan. Bye-bye, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, everybody. Thank you to Brad, Francois, and Maureen for joining us today to talk about their new audio drama, Around the Sun. Make sure to check it out on all streaming platforms now. Please join me tomorrow when Emmy Award winner Sarah Joy Brown joins me live right here. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can turn on notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. Have a great evening, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.